Thank you. Firstly, thank you to John Ross for seconding it, and also to Joe Fagan for early engagement on it, and also to Ian Strachan for his advice too. I'm sure every member in this chamber will know a community-based organisation in their ward which makes a difference to the lives of our constituents. From larger charities and social enterprises to community councils, parent councils, clubs and informal volunteering. These make up South Lanarkshire's third or essential sector. As a community officer and grants officer in my past and a volunteering councillor now, I know this sector harnesses the passion, care and leadership in our communities to go the extra mile for people in place, because they're deeply knowledgeable of and connected to our communities. Most of these services just wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the third sector. Just read the impact report in the motion and watch the campaign videos, and you will also be moved to back this motion and help this sector and our communities survive and thrive. Keep the Beat Alive is inspired by the SCVO National Essential Sector campaign. It seeks to influence local but especially national policy makers and decision makers at Holyrood and Westminster. But first we need to lead by example in our own patch. From a Team South Lanarkshire perspective, and with full appreciation of the challenges the Council is under, commitment to the campaign's three big asks requires no budget, but it does require a commitment to principles, to an improved culture and to genuine collaboration for the best of our communities. These principles chime entirely with the aims of the South Lanarkshire Community Plan, committing partners to sharing power and resources, growing the sector and working together to achieve far more for our communities. So this motion asks the Council to back the principles of the Fair Funding Charter. It challenges the Council to turn these principles into action by collaborating with the third sector and make actual real changes. It challenges us as elected members to be third sector and community champions, spotting opportunities to make sure the third sector are in the room when it will matter, and involved in service reviews and other opportunities that I'm sure you can spot too. These changes will recognise the sector's impact, be smarter about funding and engage meaningfully. Our communities face pressing challenges, as do the public and third sectors. This is not a time to roll back from collaboration. It's a time to challenge ourselves and harness the collective expertise and resources to drive the positive change much needed in our communities. And the prize to make this real is there for all to see in the sector's impact report. Preventing costly health interventions further down the line, building the connections, resilience, self-reliance and cohesion our communities need to thrive, maximising the impact and efficiency of community services, and being flexible, creative and bringing in more external funding to South Lanarkshire. That's all a big prize worth supporting. Please vote for this motion. Thank you.
Yes, thanks very much, Provost. I was really happy to second this motion. The SNP group here at SLC have always sought to champion local communities and third sector organisations. In 2018, at our first budget in administration, we introduced a 3% uplift in grants in recognition of the invaluable contribution that the third sector volunteer organisations made throughout South Lanarkshire. And as an initial step in forming closer relationships with these partner organisations, we initiated regular meetings with third sector organisation officer groups to discuss how we could best understand their needs and how we could best engage their help in the many initiatives we were seeking to introduce. Were it not for the help of many third sector and volunteer organisations, we would not have been able to carry out initiatives such as breakfast clubs and holiday activity clubs, and we were incredibly grateful for their support. Our intention in forming closer relationships with our third sector colleagues was always to try and establish a better way of working together and to determine a fair level of funding for third sector organisations. Over the past few years, the response of our communities, local organisations and third sector organisations to the pandemic has been truly outstanding. And again, I would like to offer my thanks to all the volunteers and organisations who have been and still are involved in supporting our communities to recover. If their value was not truly recognised before then those trying times certainly brought home the incredible work they were involved in on a daily basis and continue to be engaged in. Their support in so many of our community programmes, such as food security, sustainable food growth, access to healthy local grown and affordable produce, linked with the Council's food security, food growing and community wealth building strategies, which we initially set up, were to increase the benefits and involvement by communities and third sector organisations. We see the value in a strong and vibrant third sector and the huge range of benefits brings to South Lanarkshire Council and the communities throughout South Lanarkshire. And I would heavily endorse the idea that third sector colleagues should be at the table when the Council seeks to bring forward community-based projects. And I hope this Council will support the motion. Thanks.
Thanks. Just briefly, thank you to Councillor Robb and for the spirit in which she opened that debate, and where we have good practice working with the third sector, we want to make sure that that continues and is sustained. To pick up some of the themes from Councillor Ross's remarks, should be said obviously that we, like the third sector, are operating in an extremely challenging environment, but that doesn't mean we can't look at how we incorporate the principles of this charter into our work. I've spoken on this charter just this week at the Community Wealth Building Commission, and VASLAN have presented it to the Community Planning Partnership. So it's been discussed in a number of other forums, and I won't repeat everything that's been said in those forums, other than just to emphasise the community wealth building aspect to this, which is that we have a responsibility to create that ecosystem in which a plurality of different ownership models and organisations can flourish. And we have an obligation to continue to try to do that even in tough times. I think the voluntary sector, the third sector, are an integral part of that. And those approaches help us ensure that we lock wealth into place and that we are less dependent on external factors like sort of often fleeting capital and investment that is harder to pin down. Our communities will still be here working for each other no matter what happens in the national economy or elsewhere. So I just want to thank Kirsten Robb for bringing the motion forward and indicate our support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Provost. I want to add my support on behalf of the Liberal Democrat group to the motion moved today by Kirsten Robb. I'm sure it'll attract the support of all of us at the end of it. We all have a vested interest, really, in the success of effective partnership with the voluntary sector. Voluntary sector, voluntary and community groups, sports and cultural groups, youth organisations, cooperatives, social enterprises, the third sector and all its rich diversity are absolutely vital to the health and well-being of any democratic society. And they provide a complementary role to that of the public sector, more often flexible and responsive than public services, often with parallel objectives, but entitled to take a different approach and have their own distinct objectives too. In my view, it's vital that they're not cajoled by funding pressures into being a mere delivery arm on behalf of local government. And I particularly support the call for proportionate evaluation and reporting to funders. Anything that can be done should be done to simplify grant and funding applications and the procedures which follow upon them. Overzealous bureaucracy is capable of squeezing the vitality out of everyone and of using up resources in process. Indeed, reduced monitoring could release resource for better uses. I understand, of course, and agree that VASLAN as the third sector interface has an important strategic and partnership role in engaging with the Council, not least on the funding issues at the heart of the motion. But I know from the comments that Stephen Sweeney made to the Community Wealth Building Commission yesterday that he's aware how much the financial pressures also inhibit the potential for strategic funding with the third sector and indeed the level of funds the Council can deploy. And there's a core issue here, particularly for central government. I would make one plea to VASLAN, though, that in taking forward this worthwhile campaign, they also focus on the practical opportunities that exist to engage and support third sector organisations. give them the tools to move confidently into community asset transfers, develop the mechanisms for capacity building, often the single biggest need, help them identify openings where their services might be relevant, and increase the opportunities there are for effective networking. With those, if you like, focus on practical matters, I'm very happy to support the motion, and I'm sure it will be supported by all parties across the chamber. Thank you very much.
Councillor Allison.
Thanks, Provost. Yeah, I'd like to add our support to this motion as well. We don't often speak about the third sector, or maybe not often enough, but when we do highlight the importance of the sector. Communities mean everything, I think, to all of us, and it's these voluntary organisations that actually bring communities together, if not create the communities in the first place. So being able to support them, I think, is essential. I would hope that at some time in the future, the financial challenges allow us to adequate and secure their funding, because that is as important to them as it is to us. So again, just to confirm that we are pleased to support something that is so important to our local communities.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to have a 5-minute break for the BSL users. Sorry, can I just check, hurrying you out the door, can I just check that we're in agreement with this motion? Thank you. Just a 5-minute recess for the BSL users.